Timberserve here with a bit of a blog about 2025, as I haven't really done a lot of videos and you're probably wondering what's going on. Well, the truth of the matter is that I did an awful lot of shows last year. I actually did something like 24. They were quite prolific, and obviously going to shows, travelling, entrance fees, etc., all costs money, and inevitably I would buy things at said shows, which means they're even more expensive. And on top of that, I also made a realisation, if you like, that I've been collecting very specific wagons and rolling stock in general over the years to make up long rakes of particular singular wagons to run on eventually when I get around to building Lumsonia. And I've basically bought enough. So I've made the decision last year that essentially I would stop buying all my favourite items. So yeah, no more mainline wagons. So with that, and the fact that I was going to cut down shows anyway, the theory was I wasn't going to do many shows or buy anything this year. Life's a bit tough. I'm currently not employed. Had a lot of other personal family issues involved, medical issues. It's been quite a tough year or so. And financially, I wasn't really in a position to spend as much as I've done in the past. But that's not so important. More, it's that I've got enough to make up the rakes that I wanted. Therefore, there was no point in buying any more. Having said that, of course, I've done a few shows this year, and I'm probably going to do a few more, but certainly nowhere near as many as I've done in the previous years. So I've not been going to as many shows, which limits the amount of things I see on second-hand stalls. I have also been going to toy fairs. Now, in fairness, I don't normally video the toy fairs that I go to. I didn't really think anybody'd be interested in just showing panning shots at a toy fair. I know my good friends, Well Chuffed, do it all the time, and lots of people are interested in that. But unfortunately, they are a couple that are, basically have a banter between them, which is part of the interest. And obviously he is very knowledgeable about what he's looking at, unlike what I is. So me talking on my own is a bit beyond my capabilities, because I have enough problems not being on camera, and like talking like I am now at home is bad enough, talking to myself, but in a show when other people are seeing me talking to myself, that's a pale too far. So no running commentaries and videos from shows. But of course I end up buying things, and I'm sure that everybody shows videos with unboxings and the like. I'm quite sure you'd be interested to see what I buy. And I like to think that I'm a bargain hunter and I get really good deals. And we'll see by the end of this video if you agree. So what I've been looking for, well, obviously I've stopped buying all of those well-known rakes of tankers and cattle wagons and sliding door mainline wagons and carriages and so forth. I've got probably more than 100 carriages. I think I've got enough to make up a few rakes. So there is one truck, however, that I would like a rake of that I haven't got enough, and that is a press flow. Now, the one that I will collect, I might take the odd Hornby one, but I think the ones that I'm really after are the Dapple version. I know that there is a company that's just released one in the last year in both OO and O gauge, but the OO one, something like £45 retail. You're not going to pay less than about £35 a pop. That's way outside my budget range. Going back 5 or 6 years ago, I used to have a top out budget of about £5 for a boxed wagon and £3.50 for an unboxed one, which is long gone scenario, unfortunately. These days mainline wagons and Dapple wagons are fetching around £10 if you can find one in a box for £8, you're doing quite well. And quite a few shops want 12 or more pounds for them, which is a price that I'd be balk at. Luckily, I've got lots of rakes at a much better price. But it does mean I'm going to have to end up paying something like, I would hope £8, but more like 12 for a dapple wagon. There are plenty of them on eBay, but they don't fetch anything less than about £20. Even with without the postage. I think the best I've probably seen is about £14 or £15, which I still find a bit too hard to swallow. So I'm going to keep looking out for the hen's teeth at shows and see if I can get them a bit cheaper. But the other reason I go to shows is for not so specific an item, but I can kind of list them. One of the things that I look out for, and I've been to 2 shows this month, I think this yesterday. The week before, I went to a show in Shrewsbury, in the Shrewsbury Model Railway Club, to which they had a few second-hand stalls. And the one thing I do look out for is FlexiTrack. Now, I have got a huge stock of FlexiTrack, and I'm going to guarantee myself that when I come to build Lumsdonia, I won't have enough. So I'm always on the lookout for a good lump of second-hand FlexiTrack. Now, I remember paying, and I think I probably paid about £50 a box for 25 lengths. So I went to the Shrewsbury Model Railway Club show in Shrewsbury, to which they have some second-hand traders. And I did do the video, it's up here, to which they had some trade stalls. Not many, not much to choose from. Nothing really tickled me fancy, except for some FlexiTrack. Now, I have a huge stock of second-hand and new Flexi stock. From memory serves me, I've probably paid about £50 a box for FlexiTrack back in the day. I did more recently look at sort of Hattons when they were around, and it was about £60 a box. I was watching a video the other day with Partick Hill, and he said it's £120 a box. That's nuts, and it is. It's at least £110 to £130 a box, depending on where you're going for SL100 wooden sleeper, which is phenomenal. That's twice the price it used to be half a dozen years ago. So I'm certainly not going to pay that. So I'll keep going with buying whenever I see decent quality, not well used second-hand track, I'll purchase it. So he had quite a lot, and I took the lot. So we have a couple of packs, I think there's 10 or 12 pieces in each for a tenner, and 3 or 4 packs which are £5 each, which is 5 or 6 pieces in. So basically £1 a piece rather than £4.25. Admittedly, they're not full yard pieces of track. The 2 longer ones are probably 2 to 3 foot, and the smaller packs are maybe 18 inches to 2 foot or something. So they're still less than half price of new track, so I can live with that. I also picked up a couple of other items. One of the other things I keep my eyes out for that I probably haven't got enough of is vehicles. And one of the scenarios that I want to have on Lumsdonia is a caravan and camping park. One day I'll get around to finishing the design to do 3D tents, and I might do some caravans, but in the meantime, there's a couple that I've seen and I've got, but I spotted a few that I've not really seen, and I think they'll fit quite well. So this one is, I don't know who makes that. Can we read that through the camera? Probably not. But it looks the right size. Always an issue with vehicles, you never quite know what scale they are. And it's really good. The problem with 3D printing them is doing the glazing. Can't really do flush glazing, and transparent plastic in 3D printing is not very transparent. So I think that would be quite a nice looking caravan. And I got a second one here, which unfortunately I think the door might be a little bit small. It might be more of an HO version, but at worst, well, I can't see through my own camera. Corgi Juniors. At worst, I could probably take the dimensions off it and have a go at 3D printing it, and then I could scale it up a little bit. But we'll see. That's a future project. I also picked up, because I want an oil refinery, so I picked up some nice looking oil tankers. So those will go well with my mainline oil tankers and a fuel depot that is basically transferring fuel from track to rail, or rail to road, or road to rail. So that's a nice vehicle. I paid I don't know, oh yeah, £1 each for the caravans, so that's, you know, bargain. And this one I paid £4 for, which I think is a very good price for a larger vehicle of the Oxford type style. I don't know whose make it is, but never mind. And then I also got this one, which again is I think it's an Effie, probably, by the shape of the cab. I've got lots of these vehicles, this particular style of cab. And again, I think that was it was £4 as well. Can't see the make of it, but yeah, that's pretty good bargain, I think, for an independent oil tanker. And at the same show, no, that was it. That was all I bought from that show. Admittedly, obviously, I paid like 40 quid for the track, but that's, you know, probably 160 quid's worth. So yeah, that was that show. And then yesterday I went to the toy fair in Llangollen. Now, it's held at the Eisteddfod Hall, just the smaller part, not the big tent. It's a good little show. They have lots of teddy bears and you know, dinky toys and all sorts of other bric-a-brac and toys, you know, things with the blister packs for action figures and whatnot. And they always have at least 4 or 5, in fact probably more, about 7 or 8 traders who are doing model railways. So the very first trader I came to was a chap who's he's quite old. He's in his 70s, and we're having a good old chat about he's going to retire soon. But the thing that he had was a box full of bags which had wheels in. Now, the interesting thing about wheels is that I have something like 1,600 items of rolling stock. This is what I mean about collecting large rigs. Unfortunately, I have been choosy in that I probably wouldn't pick something up and buy it if it had a plastic axle, as they are notoriously bad runners. But everybody will tell you that having plastic wheeled axles is not a very good idea. They basically act like a static magnet and suck up the dirt and get covered in it. So in the perfect world, my railway needs to run with all metal wheels. Now, I've been going to shows for 20 odd years, and every time I see a bag of Hornby wheels, I would normally pick them up at a sensible price. Now, unfortunately, when I used to buy these a long time ago, they were about £3.99 a packet, and I was paying £2.50, maybe £3 for them second hand in a proper packet. I looked them up the other day, and they're currently £16 for a packet. That's £1.60 per axle, which is crazy. So you don't see them very often, to be honest, and certainly not at a good price. I remember going a couple of years ago to a Chester Toy Fair and seeing a whole box full of them for about £7.50, which I think they were retailing then at about £10 or £12, and I kind of balked at that. I thought, oh, that seems like an awful lot of money. That's 2 or 3 times what I used to pay. So I walked away from them, so I'm probably going to regret it. But today I spotted this stall and he had 2 of these packets, one with holes in, and the other one is no holes. So they're standard Hornby wheels, and I paid £8 each, which I thought was a bargain. So that's those. And then he had lots of bags of wheels, like these, which I think are probably Hornby. So that was a pack of 4, and he wanted £4 for it, which is £1 each. So that's still considerably cheaper than the current Hornby prices in the shops. So there's another one with plain wheels, that's another £4. There's another one with holes in, that's another £4. And then this one, I think these are probably Bachman, again £4. And then this one, I'm not sure whose make they are, might be Hornby, but again pack of 4 for £4. And then what else we got? Then we've got a mixed bag of a few different variants and some oddments, etc. I got charged £6 for that, so it's still probably a good deal. And then finally, this one I think actually has some plastic wheels in it, unfortunately, which obviously I didn't want to buy, but he said I'll call that £2. So I thought, okay, there's at least 2 metal ones in that. And I'll come on to it in a minute, but basically he knocked a couple of quid off all of those wheels, so you know they're even cheaper than the prices I've just stated. On the same vein, I spotted these. So 1 carriage, 2 carriage, 3 carriages. Now they are GWR, and I don't model GWR, I model British Rail Load and Cluster. So I wasn't particularly interested in them, and he did mention that none of them have any coupling hooks on them, which I think probably just snap in the end, which means you could probably get hold of them. But other than that, they're in reasonable nick. They've got no couplings, but the sales pitch, having me bought all these wheels, is they have metal wheels, which means I could throw away the carriage and just steal the wheels. So in theory, they're worth £4 to me, a wheel. And I think I would have paid £4 each carriage, and that would have been a reasonable deal. But he said they're £2 each. So I said, okay. And at 50p a wheel and a coach thrown in, you can't complain at that. In fact, can you paint the brown bit into red and make it bloody custard? And then I've got carriages for £2 a piece. And I could probably sell them without the bogies for £2 each. I mean, that is an absolute bargain. So I'm well pleased with those, even though it's a what's that? The fag packet BR. It's not a lot. It's really not a bad looking wagon. I haven't even looked at it. That's a Lima. That's a Lima. And that's a Lima. So if anybody wants Lima carriages with no wheels in, give us a shout. I'll even put some plastic wheels in them for you. Right. So at a different shop, or it might have been the same one, I can't remember now. No, different shop. I spotted something which I love cranes, and I think you can get a Hornby crane second hand, probably about £20. Now they always have a problem, which is that they don't have the stabilising, if somebody's lost them, the stabilising feet, which I have a solution. I've actually designed my own 3D printed ones, so that's not an issue. And when they go for 20 quid, that's probably a good price. If you see one for 15 and you haven't got one, I'd snap their arm off. But occasionally you'll spot them. I bought one in the past which had some of the trucks missing, and managed to spot the trucks separately and combine the two to make a complete crane, which I think I've sold off a long time ago. Well, I spotted these, which is all the trucks without the crane, and he wanted 5 quid. I couldn't turn my nose up at that one. So if I now spot a crane with no trucks, or broken trucks or something, for like a tenner, I can pick that up and flog it off for 20 quid if I don't want to keep it myself. I can't remember if I've still got one. This actually looks like the very more modern version. I think I probably still got one, but it'll be an older version than this, which means it might be worth finding the crane and keeping it for myself. But either way, a fiver. I wasn't going to turn my nose up at that one. Okay, so going on to a shop that I see on a regular basis, and I'll give a shout out, which is Chester Model Railway Club. A couple of guys I know very, very well. I see them at every show around the area because they're local to me, obviously. And they always have really good prices. I bought so much gear off of them over the years. I can strongly recommend looking at their store. So they had nothing of interest wagon-wise, nothing of interest accessory-wise, but they had some ballast. Now, I shouldn't really buy ballast or, ground materials, because I do actually have a method of sieving my own from river silt, which one day eventually I'll bring a video out about. But it is a laborious process. If you're really skint and you want to make your own ballast, then that is an extremely cheap way of doing it. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of time and effort, and you need some certain tools to enable you to do it. Now, I will do a lot of that and produce a wide spread of different grain sizes at some point in the future. But I always can't quite turn down a bargain if I see it for ballast, because if Lumsonia ever comes off, it's going to be a huge layout, and it's going to take literally tens of kilograms of ballast. Ballast doesn't go very far. You get a half kilogram bag, probably cost you £6 to £10, or a little bottle or something, and it'll only do a few meters, and I'm talking hundreds of meters of track. So although I do have a big stock of ballasting materials, I'm always not shy of picking up some more if it's cheap. And when I saw this is a ginormous bag. In fact, I've got a weigh scale right next to me. And that is a 1 kilogram bag of ballast. It's a little bit light, but then I like having variances in the colours of my ballast, and if I throw a bit of a black wash on it to sort of grubby it up, that probably end up looking the right colour anyway. And there was 2 of them, so that is a bargain. Where can you buy ballast? A kilogram of ballast for £2. That is absolute snap. So at the same place, under the same deal, I also spotted these, which is whose make is it? Woodland Scenics medium iron ore. So I do have a load of HAA wagons which I have yet to make up loads for, and I would probably say they would be an iron ore rather than just gravel. So I suppose they could be coal, couldn't they? But I'm going to have them as iron ore, or maybe I can make coal and iron ore ones and vary it around. But I couldn't knock the fact that they're marked up £4.15. They're probably 7 or 8 quid in reality. This is old stock, and they were £1 each. And it's lightweight. It's probably not real stone, so that's good for the wagons, that it's not adding a huge amount of weight to them. And again, there was 2 packets of it. for £2. Tell me where you can find Woodland Scenics materials for £1 a bag. Yeah, you won't. So that was £6 altogether. And then finally, scatter. Okay, scatter. Again, I have a method, yeah, and again, I need to make a video about it, of basically creating my own spread of types of scatter and colours and so forth. But although I love making my own things, unfortunately, there's one exception, and that is static grass. I did look into it about 6 years ago as to exactly how you could make it at home, and put it in simplistic terms. You would have to spend hundreds of pounds on a machine and have huge buckets, buy the fibre in massive great big hanks, and dye it yourself. It would be an extremely messy process, like I said, with specialised machinery that you'd end up making far too much. Even for my massive layout, I'd have a massive excess. What beer I've been on tonight. So the exception to the rule of Scenics is if I see static grass cheap, I will buy it. So they had this pretty big bag of static grass, probably worth, I don't know, £5-10 or something in equivalent. I mean, you usually get a little tiny bag, about a sixth of the size of that, will cost you £2 or £3. So you know, that's a lot of static grass, and that was £1. Yeah, did me the deal. The six quid's worth of gravel, and that, call it £7. Bargain. Right, then one last shop. Looking through the bin, which was had cheap trucks in it. This is a I don't know whose make it is actually. I don't know. It's probably not Hornby. I'm guessing it might be a Bachmann, but I really don't know. You'll probably tell me, all you buffs out there. But whatever you're looking at, and however old it is, you're probably not going to pay less than about £10 to £15 for a crocodile, or a low, whatever they call them. Although it is GW, which again, it's not, I wouldn't expect to see GW on my layout, but it could have been pinched or something, or I can paint them out. But that was £4. You can't knock that, can you? And I go, oh look, it's got plastic wheels. I've got a solution for that. Right. And then something I haven't bought for a very, very long time. I actually bought a box full of signals many moons ago, which had, I don't know, 30 or 40 signals in, which one day I'm going to have to do up and mess about with. My intention is to drive them with servos and adapt them, put brass rods up and so forth. And of course, the other option now is I could actually 3D print them myself. But it's very hard to make the little weights, these counterweight things. But yeah, it's a number of options, but that was £2. So I wasn't going to turn that down, because they're probably £25 to buy. And apart from the bottom being snapped off one, you know, that's just a bargain. So that's a future project with more signals. And I also got this sort of bag of bits. It's got a double mast in there, and it's got some signal heads, which again, you know, is useful to cobble something together with. The whole bag, when I opened it, I discovered it had a label as £5, but today's price was £2, which was brilliant. And I also have to mention, Toy Fair was normally £3 entry to get in, and I don't know why, very, very quiet, but they decided to make the entrance fee half price. So it was just £1.50 to get in, which was great. Probably to do with the fact that Stafford, which is a huge toy fair, was also on today, and probably took most people who like going to toy fairs probably all went to that one. So there you have it. A bit more story about what I'm aiming for with my model railway Lumsonia, and my style of buying cheap stuff, being very tight-fisted. I think I got some really good bargains out of both shows. I'm very pleased with what I've got, with the exception of the track. I haven't spent a huge amount of money, although I guess the wheels themselves, I think the wheels were probably 40 quid, I think. So yeah, that was a lot of money, but it value, you know. Just those 2 Hornby packs are probably worth 30 quid. So yeah, that's the sort of things that I buy at toy fairs. So that's it for today. I'm not sure whether you'll like or dislike this type of video, and whether you want any more. By all means, put comments down below, give me some feedback, have a chat, and I always answer comments, and I will see you in the next video. So from me, Timber Surf, it's ciao for now.